Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get into what is nursing and how to go to college for nursing. My guest today is Sandy Esperance. Esperance. Sandy Esperance, and she's an RN, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So Sandy, I usually start my guests where they went to college. So where did you go to college?
I went to college very close by at the College of New Jersey, and I graduated in 2008.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Great. So let's go back in time. Let's go back into high school. Where did you start in high school, and when did you start thinking about college?
So in high school, I started thinking about college, I want to say junior year.
Okay.
Junior year was when, we had meetings with the guidance counselors. They were advising us apply to a couple of different schools. And from there, I always knew I wanted to be a nurse.
Okay.
So I looked into some schools who offered those nursing programs that I was interested in. And I believe I was accepted into a majority of them. But my number one was the College of New Jersey. So
Great.
I got accepted there. And since then, it's been great. It was a great program at the College of New Jersey. Very hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Nursing is very strenuous and stressful. However, from there in high school, I was definitely guided. I had some decent guidance from the guidance counselors, and I was glad I had some options. And that was where my journey started, really. Junior year. And from there, I just moved forward.
So now, were your parents involved in all of the legwork as well, or did you do it all yourself?
I pretty much did it all myself. My parents were actually very strict, so we were academic students. I was always on the honor roll, but I didn't realize the value, or they didn't realize the value of being involved in activities. So it was like, do your schoolwork, get good grades, come home. So I wasn't very involved in any after-school activities, any sports. So as far as planning those things ahead, no, I didn't have that under my belt. But as far as planning the searches, that was all me as well.
Great. So now, how did you start thinking about nursing? What was the first thought, oh yeah, I want to get into nursing?
I think it was just always something that I had a heart for. I always had a heart for nursing. I just love taking care of people. It sounds very cheesy, but it just makes you feel good. And I think that's what we were meant to do, taking care of people. And I couldn't picture myself doing anything else. And the beauty of nursing is that it's very multifaceted. If you don't like one arena, you can go into another. I did go on to pursue a certification in wounds, ostomies, and continence, so I do specialize in that as well, which I absolutely love. So it's very diversified. You can get into a lot of different aspects in nursing. You're not limited to one facet of that.
So now, how did you end up picking College of New Jersey?
So the College of New Jersey, actually, they had a pretty great program that they offered. It's called the EOF program. And it's an equal opportunity funding program. And it was very beneficial for me in my circumstance because we had not planned ahead financially. I got some scholarships, but not enough to really cover the cost of the other colleges. And I wasn't really being offered too much money. Because I didn't have those academics or sports, but I did have the grades. So with that program that they offered, I was able to, get help from them and paying for books and some courses, and that really relieved the burden. So that aspect of the College of New Jersey was definitely the number one draw, but also their nursing program is phenomenal. It was a challenge, but it made me better. I absolutely appreciated that in the nursing program. And in the EOF program, we had to do a summer program where I was able to get to know other students. And one of them ended up being my roommate for the next 3 years. So that was very, very interesting, very, very interesting experience. And I'm grateful for it, very grateful.
So now you get to College of New Jersey, you're a freshman. What do you start taking? What are the classes that you start taking? Is it a general class for the first couple of years and then you start getting into the nursing?
Yes. The first year and a half or two, they were like elective courses, general elective courses, which were interesting. They were very interesting. They wanted us to be well-rounded, as they say. So, and I enjoyed most of them. You know, statistics, not so much, but everything else, I can honestly say I did enjoy my elective courses.
Okay.
Yes, yes. And I met, you know, you got to meet different people from different majors, and that was very interesting too. So I did appreciate that in the long run. At first you're like, oh my God, why do I have to take all these elective courses? What does that have to do with what I want to do? But in the long run, it did pay off because I got to meet so many different people, learn about so many different cultures and other majors. So it was nice in that aspect.
So now the last 2 years, what kind of classes are you taking for nursing? And is it more of a pre-med type of thing, or is it really focused on nursing?
I wouldn't say it was pre-med. It is more nursing focused and driven. We like courses like anatomy and physiology, and which was my favorite. We did have to take some chemistry courses, but our pharmacology courses, they are more specific to nursing.
Okay.
They're not as in-depth as, you know, maybe a pre-med student would take, or maybe a nurse practitioner in a master's program would take, but it does set the stage and the foundation for us to move forward for what we needed to know.
Right.
The other classes, yeah, they were very specific and nursing driven. And then those last 2 years and a half, we were in clinicals, which is the fun part.
Okay.
There you have the instructors, you're in the hospital, you're nervous as ever. You know, you're finally actually touching a patient, doing care. So, but it was a phenomenal experience those last 2 years.
So is it something where, do you end right when college ends, or is this something that it continues after college? You're constantly learning about nursing.
You have many options. You have many options, and I personally do plan to continue to go for my master's at some point, to be able to you know, expand on my knowledge and be able to have more options. I have a lot of friends who are nurse practitioners and who have went on to get their PhD, and they have so many options. They're telling me about all these experiences, but it doesn't have to end there. You can go into, like I was saying before, so many different facets of nursing. I would love to specifically focus on wound care as a practitioner and be able to prescribe things, or, you know, make more recommendations and be more detailed in that aspect, and be able to teach more because I love teaching. But you have so many different options with nursing.
Can you name some of them? I mean, is it something where students just say, oh, I want to go into nursing and that's it? Or could you name a few where, you know, some people might be able to go into?
Yeah, for example, when you're going to get your master's, you have the option to do nursing administration, or you can become a family nurse practitioner. You can be a nurse practitioner in the hospital, which we work with a lot on my floor, actually. You can work in a doctor's offices alongside a doctor. You can open up, you have the option to think about business and open up a business if you wanted to. Yeah, it's very, the doors are open.
And then do you start to focus on that in college? Is those some of the things that you start to focus on in college, or is it something where it's just general the whole way?
There are many people who do have that focus in college. I honestly, when I first went, I was very focused on just getting my bachelor's and being done with it. Because at the time you were just so stressed and you're like, school, never again. But as you get into nursing and you're working more and more, you realize how much knowledge you do have and how much you want to expand on it. Yeah. So I'm thinking about it now, but I did have many peers who thought about it then because they knew exactly what they wanted to do. They knew exactly the fact that they wanted to become a nurse practitioner or get their PhD and go into administration.
Gotcha.
So yeah, absolutely. If you know right away, the better. The more you know specifically what you want to do, the better. The sooner the better, I would say.
So now, once you graduate from college, where did you end up?
I am currently working at the University of Pennsylvania Penn Presbyterian Hospital.
Okay.
And they are an affiliate of the whole University of Pennsylvania. and very well known for cardiac. We actually just become a trauma center. So that's definitely boosted up the admission rates, which is great, you know.
Sure.
And learning a lot of things. And I'm currently working on a cardiothoracic floor, which is awesome. And they're also letting me provide education to the floor in the arena of wound care. So they let me have that liberty to plan things and help out in that aspect of skincare.
So now, when you're in college, is there extra activities that you do when you got to college? Because you didn't do much in high school. Is there something that you were active in the college community?
When I was in college, I got active in, there was the gospel choir, which I enjoyed. There was, I was honestly a quiet kid. You know, I honestly did not get involved as much as I could have or probably should have.
Is it something that kids want to do, or is it something where, you know, you was just focused on just going to school and coming home, that kind of stuff? Were you at campus or off campus?
I was on campus, and I was personally, when I first got there, I was very, you know, just let me go to class, get my work done. And because that kind of carried along from high school, you know, I know they say a lot of sheltered kids kind of go crazy in college. I was the opposite. I completely led a straight path. So it was just very focused academics for me initially. But many of my peers, they did get involved in a lot of activities and got very involved in the campus. And I could see it benefited them. They got to know other people, they got to network, they had really great experiences. And, you know, I would get involved every once in a while, but I wasn't committed to anything.
Right.
Looking back in hindsight, yes, I would have gotten more involved. But at the time, I was a little stressed with, you know, the nursing program, but it's doable. It was doable. So
go in depth into the nursing program. What is the nursing program at like a school like College in New Jersey?
So it's
Is it more
That's a really broad
tests,
question.
clinical? Is there a lot of tests that go on? Is it, you know, is it more
Yes.
clinical where you're going into different hospitals and checking out things? How does it all work at the college level?
Okay, so the first 2 years you're doing those general electives, and then those last 2 years you are very, very focused, and there are a lot of tests. So initially those programs, we were in the classrooms and we would have a test maybe like every 2 weeks, it seemed like, or every couple of weeks, and they were very, very involved,
Okay.
very, very in depth. And we would have a practice clinical where we were in the lab at the school.
Okay.
And our instructor would, we would run through scenarios. We would have partners and run through scenarios or be in groups, and they would say, okay, this is happening with your patient. What do you do? Like, you would be the lead nurse or leading the code or the rapid response. So what do we do? How do you put in a Foley? And we would practice that in the lab. And then from there, we would go into the hospital settings. We would have a patient, and we would be expected to do that care. And we had a professor, our instructor, watching over us, going in with us, doing the skills, checking us off, giving us feedback, and we could improve from there. So if we didn't improve from there, then we would probably have to take the class over.
Wow.
Or, you know, you were probably bumped out of the program, especially the test. The test could make you or break you.
Wow.
They were very strict with their standards, which, you know, I think they should be.
And what's the standard at the school? Is it you have to maintain an A average, or?
You have to maintain, I believe it was a B minus at the time. And their numbers were a little different. Their standards were higher, so a B minus was within a certain range.
Okay.
So it got very hard at sometimes because it was very in depth, very involved.
Do they give you a lot of internships where they send you to certain hospitals and things like that? Did you do that throughout the years as well?
Yes. That was part of the clinical too. Maybe not necessarily internships, but that was part of the clinicals where we would do rotations. We would do maternity, we would do med surg and psych. So we got to experience those different arenas. And in that time, you got to see, well, I really kind of like this. So, but I thought I might like that. And community surprised me. I'm not in community setting, but it surprised me, and I did enjoy that a lot more than I thought I would. But you get to discover different facets of nursing that you thought you might not have liked, but that you eventually will.
Wow. And do you, at the time, did you see a lot more women in it, a lot more men in it? Is it equal?
Oh yeah, this is outrun by women. This is completely outrun by women. I believe there is more men coming up into it, but we had about 2 gentlemen who graduated from our class, and yeah, we're definitely still an overwhelming number of women in the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you graduate from school, do you have a pick of where you want to go? Is it, can you go all over the country? How does it pretty much work?
Yeah, that's another great thing about it, because nurses are needed everywhere. We had a lot of nurses who, were getting married or who wanted to move, and they were able to apply to different hospitals throughout the country and get the positions that they wanted. But also even now, they have travel nursing where they put you in 13-week assignments in different hospitals throughout the country, and they give you those options of where you want to go sometimes.
Wow.
And I just had one of my coworkers who I love dearly who just moved, and she was able to get a position in North Carolina. From Pennsylvania, she moved to North Carolina very easily. So
is the job market pretty good, where once you graduate you're almost guaranteed a job, or is it like a lot of the other segments of America where it's not as easy as to get a job?
Interestingly enough, it became very hard. After I got my job, that year, right after it became very hard for nurses to get a job for some reason. It was 2008 during the recession, but many nurses struggled during that time. However, I believe it's gotten better. It has gotten better. We have become more in demand, and it's slowly going back to the place it was, I believe, because nursing was always in demand. There was never like a freeze. There were hospitals who had freezes, but it has become more open.
Wow.
More new nurses are getting hired, and it's become a little easier to get a job as a nurse.
So in high school, let's go back there. When you start thinking about nursing in college and things, are there any kind of events that go on at the high school where you can go check out some of this stuff?
When I think about it, I believe we did have career fairs. We did have career fairs and college fairs that happened where we were able to connect with the different recruiters and network a little bit. Some high schools do offer that.
Did you find that helpful?
I did. It was helpful. I was able to connect with people and the recruiters and see what their schools had to offer and see what type of leadership there was. That's very important, I believe, anywhere you're going, whether a job or school, seeing that the leadership that they have and seeing their track record, being able to get a good vibe for the people who are going to be, determining your future.
Now, is nursing something where you have to go to college, or is there secondary schools that they can go to, or is it can you go straight out of high school right into nursing? Is there anything like that?
No, never straight out of high school. You are able, if you wanted to be a certified nursing assistant, even that you have to do some schooling to know the basics, vital signs, EKGs, things like that. However, as a nurse, even when you're functioning as an LPN, you do need some schooling, like a diploma degree or something like that. I'm not too familiar with the LPN program, but if you want to be a bachelor's prepared nurse, you need at least 4 years of schooling. And more hospitals, almost all the hospitals now will be requiring the bachelor's prepared nurse.
And how do you get to become an RN?
You got to do your research. If that's what you want, you have to do your research and see which programs offer the RN bachelor's prepared programs that you're seeking. You don't want to waste your time. I always recommend to people who say, oh, I'm going to do LPN, and I say, go straight for your bachelor's because it's going to be very hard for you to get a job as an LPN now.
So once you get your bachelor's, does that register you as an RN, as a registered nurse?
Yes,
It does.
Bachelor of Science in Nursing.
Okay.
Yes.
And so there's no test or anything to get that? Or is there a final test that you have to take?
Oh yes, absolutely. There is that. It's called the NCLEX, and it was probably the hardest test of my life. So,
is it long? Is it like an SAT where it's 3-4 hours?
It is.
How does it work?
It depends on the person. I had people who said they got it done in an hour. I had people who said they got it done in the whole, I think we're given 6-7 hours in total. And some people took up the whole time. I think I did it in about 2.5 hours, but it's between 75 to 200 questions.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but that's about how many questions there are. And as you're taking the test, you know if you kind of get a feel for if you're doing okay or not, because the more questions that you may or may not get, that you don't get right, it'll still prompt you to keep taking questions.
Really?
Yes. So you know you're kind of like, okay, I got to step up my game here. I got to get these more questions right. But the more questions you get right, the less questions it'll prompt you to take.
Really?
Yes. So
it's all, is it an online-based test?
it is online.
Wow.
Yeah, where you go to a facility, a center that's close by you, you register, and you take the test. And I was the one I did the minimum that you had to do, but it took me about 2 hours to do it because I was reading each and every single word over and over again.
Wow.
Yeah, because you just don't want to have to take that over.
But how many times can you take it over before they say that's it? You can't be a nurse.
Oh, it's been a while, so I'm not 100% sure.
But you could take it multiple times.
You could take it again.
Yeah.
Could take it again. The maximum, I'm not sure of that number.
Okay.
But yeah, you don't want to have to take it again. You do not want to have to.
So
take
basically,
it again.
what you're saying to people is take it, pass it, and do well.
Yes.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
do well the first time. Put in that effort the first time.
Okay. So now, picking all those schools, it really comes down to financially what you're saying, picking out the schools, because for you, finance really meant a lot to pick a school. Is there a majority of schools out there that have nursing programs, or is it just pretty much like schools like College of New Jersey, smaller schools? Are there big-time schools that you know of as well?
Oh yeah, they have a lot of schools out there. Temple has a good program, I heard. Villanova has a great nursing program. They have a lot of colleges out there that incorporate a nursing program, so the options are there. We're not low on any nursing programs, I can tell you that.
So there's a lot of research that gets involved.
Yes.
Do you visit a lot of the schools? Did you visit some of the schools that you applied to?
I did visit the College of New Jersey.
Okay.
When they had that opportunity, I did. I didn't, you know what, yes, I actually did visit maybe 1 or 2 others, and the College of New Jersey was the one that stuck in my mind. It made the most sense. It was far enough where I could stay on campus, but it wasn't too close where I was going to be bugged by my family and distracted. So, but yeah, you do get that opportunity to visit.
Yeah, so that's a big thing. Mm-hmm. So really what it comes down to is finding the right school that fits you.
Right.
And then eventually passing that test.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. So going into the workplace, how difficult is it to find a particular area that you want to get into?
It's difficult if you don't know what you want to do. But if you know you immediately want to go into an ICU, you just start researching ICU positions, and they're usually out there. Or a lot of new nurses, it's probably for some reason, it's a little easier for them to get into programs that they offer. They're called gateway programs. Mm. So they want the new nurses. And I believe it's more so because they're new and they can mold them into exactly what they want for their floor. Oh, yeah. So a lot of the times they take a lot of new nurses, sometimes over seasoned nurses, because, they haven't been contaminated.
Yeah, sure.
Just kidding, but yeah, there are a lot of options. If you know what you want, then go for it.
Good.
Go for it.
Well, we're coming to the end of our show. So usually what I ask my guests is, what advice do you want to give to the men and women out there that are in high school, that are going on to college? What advice do you give those parents and those kids?
I would tell the parents, I know there are probably a lot of strict parents out there too, but if they really want their children to get more funding, they really need to have them get involved in either sports, the arts, something that they can have under their belt to have them be more than just an academic student, to be more well-rounded to the college, because that's what they look for. And to the students, to start their research early as well. Decide what it is that you want to do earlier. The earlier the better. So you can start doing your research, you can start connecting and networking with people who will put you in the right direction, because that's very important. It becomes very hard, and sometimes students are in college, picking up a major that they really don't want to do, and then they end up going to another major. But if you know what you want to do earlier on, it'll save you a lot of time, energy, and money. So, and parents also, funding. Start some sort of fund for your child as early as possible, because I am sitting on student loans right now that I'm still paying off. Which I'm not complaining, it is what it is, but had I known then what I know now, things would have been differently financially. So if they would start planning very early on as far as the finances are concerned, they will be happy, and so will their child. So yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.